Houston. Welcome back to Generation Acres Farm. We are in the kitchen today because I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite artisan sourdough bread recipe. As the weather is starting to change, here we are at coming up on the end of August here. We're heading into fall, and I don't know about you, but I love to bake in the fall and winter. So I've kind of had my sourdough stuff mostly put away for the summer, as when it's super hot, I'm not really that interested in cooking, baking a ton in the kitchen and heating up the house even more. But as we look to fall and winter, that is what starts coming to mind. I want to bake pies and cookies and breads and things like that. So I thought it would be the perfect time to share my very favorite sourdough recipe with you. This is a beginner-friendly recipe, so even if you don't have experience with making sourdough bread, I'm going to be walking you through all the steps from start to finish, filming the whole thing, so you'll be able to see exactly what the dough should look like at different points and that sort of thing. So I hope it'll be super helpful for you. If you're brand new to sourdough and you don't even have a sourdough starter, I am working to get some sourdough kits in my Etsy shop for you guys. So I'll have it linked in the description box down below. But my plan is to have some kits that will have dehydrated sourdough starter that you can rehydrate when it gets to your house. Full instructions on how to do that. I want to have a sourdough ebook for you guys with all of my favorite sourdough recipes in it. All of my favorite things that I love to bake in my kitchen that involve a sourdough starter. I'm also hoping to have some gift sets in there. So if you are looking for someone has a birthday coming up, or maybe for Christmas gifts, things like that, a really pretty set of the sourdough starter in a jar and a little, recipe book. Be on the lookout for that in our Etsy shop. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. Tools you'll need are a kitchen scale, a Dutch oven, a dough scraper, and a scoring knife. You'll also need a proofing basket. Any size or shape is okay. And then for ingredients, you'll need a freshly fed sourdough starter. I'm using organic all-purpose flour and then whole wheat flour, as well as some salt. So to begin, we're going to add 60 grams of ripe sourdough starter to our bowl here, and after that we're going to add 300 grams of room temperature water. So I'm using filtered water from my Berkey water filter. And once you get up to 300 grams, you're going to just use a clean hand to mix this up. So you just want to kind of combine the starter with the water here, get everything nice and combined, kind of almost dissolving the starter into the water. And then after that, we're going to zero out our scale, and it's time to add our flour. So we're going to add 310 grams of the organic all-purpose flour. And then we're also going to add 80 grams of whole wheat flour. So this is flour that I have ground in my grain mill, or you could just use, a whole grain flour from the store. So just 80 grams of that. And then we're going to get our hands dirty again and get this all mixed up. So this is a very messy step. Definitely the messiest step in this whole recipe. Our hands are going to get covered in dough, but that's okay. It's worth it. So the goal with this part is just get everything completely combined together. You don't want any dry flour or anything like that. So once this is all mixed together and nice and messy, we're going to let this sit for 20 minutes. After it sits for 20 minutes, we are going to add our salt. So we're going to add 8 grams of salt to our dough mixture, and we're going to get our hands dirty again, and we're going to get that salt all incorporated into the dough. This is really important. You want to, you don't want any pockets of dough in here, pockets of salt in here. So you want the salt completely mixed in. And like I said, this part's super important. So take your time with it and make sure the salt is evenly distributed all throughout the dough. Once we get all the salt incorporated, we're going to cover the dough and let it sit for 30 to 45 minutes. We're moving into our bulk fermentation. So this is it. See the little air bubble there I was showing you? That means that the sourdough starter, it's working, it's doing its thing. And so you're gonna wanna wet your hand, and we're gonna do stretch and folds every 30 to 45 minutes for 3 to 4 hours. So this is our first stretch and fold. All you do is just simply get your hand wet so the dough doesn't stick. And then you're just gonna, run your hand along the side of the bowl, fold it onto itself a few times, cover it again, set a timer on your phone, come back in 30 to 45 minutes, get your hands wet again, more stretch and folds just like that. Just like that. Cover it again, set your timer, 30, 45 minutes, come back and do another stretch and fold. Every time you do this, it gets easier and easier, and the dough kind of starts taking shape, and it becomes less sticky. And again, covered it and let it sit, came back to do the stretch and folds again. This is the last time I'm going to cover it and let it sit for another 30 to 45 minutes, and then we'll come back and do the first shaping. So this is the pre-shape stage after the bulk fermentation. I'm going to pour this. I'm going to try to use the dough. The dough scraper helps with this. My dough this time, for whatever reason, was wanting to stick to the bowl, but you want to try to do this without deflating the dough, and just kind of gently get it onto the flour there on the clean countertop. Make sure your hands are nice and floured as well, because it is still pretty sticky at this point. So I'm just folding the edges inward here. Like I said, this is our pre-shape stage, so I'm just trying to get like a general kind of round shape. I'm using my little bench knife here to turn it over. We want the seam side down. I'm going to cover it with a towel, and we're going to let the dough rest for about 20 minutes. Once the dough rests for 20 minutes, I'm going to come back. I'm going to grab my proofing basket and get it nice and floured. Then we're going to do our final shape. So I'm going to roll it back over so the seam side is up. And we're going to do some pulling in of the edges and just kind of trying to, like I said, just give it its shape. So we're just pulling these edges in here. And then we're going to do a little tucking, rolling maneuver here. And we're just trying to get everything, like I said, giving it shape. And so it'll fit nicely into the little proofing basket and have a nice shape in the end. Cover it in the top in some flour, and it's going to go into the proofing basket, seam side up. Very important. You definitely want the seam side up here. Just be gentle with the dough. You don't want to deflate it or anything like that. We're just going to cover it with a towel, and it goes in the fridge overnight for 8 to 12 hours. After it's been in the fridge for 8 to 12 hours, you can take it out and let it sit on the counter. I like to let mine rest for about 3 hours after it comes out of the refrigerator. After you do that, it should feel like an inflated water balloon. Then you can preheat your oven to 450 degrees and put your cast iron Dutch oven in there to get that preheating. While that's preheating, we're going to dump our dough out onto parchment paper. As you can see, this proofing basket was brand new, and apparently I didn't put enough flour in there, so it's stuck. I haven't had any issues with any of my other ones, but for whatever reason, of course, the one that I'm filming, it sticks. So anyway, it still turns out beautiful, and it tastes amazing, so that's all that matters. So we're going to just do that and get out our razor and start scoring it. This is like my preferred scoring method here. You can do any kind that you would like. And then once the oven's preheated, we're going to quickly take the lid off of the Dutch oven, put the loaf in, put the lid back on as quickly as we can so we don't lose too much heat or steam. And then we're going to let it cook for 20 minutes with the lid on, and then we're going to take the lid off and then let it cook for another 25 to 30 minutes depending on your oven until it gets nice and golden brown. Here I I am cutting into the sourdough loaf. I let this one cool overnight. You always want to make sure that is completely cooled before you cut into it. I like to let mine rest on a like baker's rack overnight. So as you can see, just the crumb here is just beautiful and airy and light. It's super soft on the inside and the crust is just the right amount of crispy in my opinion. Thanks for watching this video today. I hope it was helpful to you and I hope it inspired you to make your own loaf of sourdough bread. If you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and also don't forget to check the description box down below. Click the link over to my Etsy shop and check out what I have to offer over there, the sourdough ebook, dehydrated sourdough starter, gift sets, things like that. All right, thanks for watching and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.